Okay, I'm excited to be here, really. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being here this morning. As Tommy said, I'm going to talk about how to win the hearts and minds of Drupal businesses, and I'm going to show you some examples of the things that I came across when you talk with people who don't even know how to write Drupal. When it's about business and other things than code and performance. And thank you Drupal Association Finland for having me. Thank you Jana for asking me. It really feels like a privilege to be opening DrupalCamp for you today. I've been involved in some DrupalCamps in Holland, and I know how much preparation goes into the program. I know how you want to be sure that there's the right amount of tracks and the right amount of content in there. So thank you very much. Before I introduce myself, a few questions. So who of you is involved sometimes in sales or pre-sales or some sort of consultancy meetings? Good. So any one of you involved not in code but in design or strategy altogether? Is that your prime function? Anyone? Okay. And who believes that the Drupal has by definition the better papers because it's open source when you sit down with clients? Okay, good. That's good. So I'll hope I get back to some of these questions and more in my session. So my name is Imre from Meijling. I'm from Holland, but my name totally isn't. So are we all right with the sound?
Just trying to shut those.
Okay. So I'm with Gmelig, translates to Lime Green, a small agency in Amsterdam, Holland. And we're very much into the niche of sustainable websites that will last for at least 5 years, and you'll be able to use after that, and also websites that are accessible to so many people with visual disabilities. That's what we do. I'm involved in online strategy and digital marketing, both for Imre as well as for our clients, and I'm trying to open up the discussion with many of our clients beyond products, beyond the product requirements, beyond the performance, and in a broader sense of the challenges they're up against. Cool. Besides that, I'm also involved in the Dutch Drupal Association. I'm a member. I've been organizing our Drupal Jam in Holland, very similar to your camps, which is one day, slightly few more people, sponsors, and also I know the tremendous amount of work that goes into organizing a day like this, and it's a wonderful thing to do here. Before this, I've been involved in Drupal, which is now Drupal. I was involved in a Dutch startup a few years ago, so I still have a few colleagues here, which is always nice. So that is about me. My goal for you today is to inspire you to think about your agencies, about your careers, and to look at your work and your agencies in a broader light, a little more towards broadening your services, expanding your service portfolio, which is basically about growing the Drupal pie. We've been hearing about growing the Drupal pie on DrupalCons in the past few years. And when it comes to growing the Drupal pie, I believe that we need to include other clients at the table. We need to find other clients that they don't know about Drupal, they don't care about Drupal sometimes, but they have different needs. And it's, we've been having projects where we say, well, give me a set of requirements and I'll build you this wonderful website, which is okay, right? Executing excellent work, that's what we all do. We have a thriving business on that. We can have for another 5 years, which is good, but I meet with companies, both small and large, and they have been doing their website 2 or 3 times already, right? And they have learned some valuable lessons there, and they start to have other questions, other needs. And I observe a shift where people, companies, they sort of evolve, and they don't only need this wonderful product, but they need a wonderful customer experience as well, which goes beyond the website. So it's no longer just IT calling the shots, having the budgets. I mean, the marketing departments are very much not executive, when it comes to website projects. And I think it would be wonderful to have more open source enter the realms of those companies who've done it a couple of times with maybe expensive software, and you know, grow the Drupal pie into those realms. I think that would be great. And I think in order to do that, we need to think broader, and we need to bring other skill sets and disciplines to the table. Talk about digital maturity, talk about personalization, talking about online awareness and helping our clients' organizations, you know, not just with a very good and performant website, but also broadening their services for their clients. And I think if you hook onto those needs, you'll actually not only win the minds, but also the hearts of even the toughest people at your table. So, growing the Drupal pie for me is very much including other types of clients, including other topics into your discussion, bringing other skill sets to your company. Maybe not adopt them as such, but find people who you can do it with. Right, so going to back up a little bit about some philosophical truth I've come to hold here. And a few years ago, I read a book called An Unusual Conversation with God by Neil Donald Walsh. It's not a Christian book, but it has some very interesting thoughts and some traditional religious beliefs. And the most interesting thing that was a life changer for me was a take on how people make decisions. All sorts of decisions based in life are based on either fear or love, right? So all can be deduced to a love or fear dichotomy. And I started to recognize that there's lots of things happening in our projects that have been fear-based for a long time, right? So when it's about contracts, about risks, it's all energies around control, around contract, around bringing together, about negating and such. Whereas on the love side of that dichotomy, we see energy which allows and expands and leaves room for creativity, right? And that's very interesting because when you observe companies that are growing into some competitor advantage, interesting companies that have successful brands, you see that they start to adopt those kind of values more and more, and it even starts to emerge on our market in certain procurement ways where there is way more room for creativity, way more room for expansion, where there is a proper balance between contracts, right, and creativity. So you may have a Drupal sponsor in your client's organization or the potential client's team that is a Drupal sponsor, right? But as they are more mature in their business, there's people around them that will need help bootstrapping towards online revenue, towards measurable KPIs. They will want to know if the money they will invest will return to their website, right? It's getting more and more important. So they need help in staying relevant for their customers and clients, really. So it's not only the tools that count when they select an agency, it's also about experience with these kind of matters and really understanding what their customers and their users need, if you can help them there. So if you have like this package that will offer them a very good and performing product, that's a good thing. But if you can broaden up that package where you can actually add value to their businesses, and thinking along the lines, their online strategy and the things that they're trying to do online, that's certainly going to be added value for your companies and agencies as well, even for your own careers, I think. So that's what we call service design or service innovation, which is all about a great customer experience, right? And there's the physical thing, the product. That's what we're all involved in, really, right? Most of the days, building a great product that is performant, that is beyond expectations, if possible. But if you touch the senses, you're talking about giving your a great experience to the users and customers of your client, and also allow you and your team members enough space to actually care for other people, care for the people that will be actually using the website and the tools, right? And then if we touch emotions, we get to the feeling, and we really move through people through the stuff that we all make, right? So you have to live it. Go stand in the line of your customer users. Go out there and meet the real people that will actually be using it, and look from the outside in, really, to the stuff that you're making. Andries had a very interesting post, coincidentally, about this a couple of days ago, about actually having people on board with maybe no vested interest in the project, but looking from the outside in into the stuff that we're doing, and coming back with some very proper and good feedback on how users are actually perceiving the things that we do, right? So how do we actually raise the hairs on the arms of people is what it's going to be more and more about. So how do you create this great customer experience? Well, if we're talking about performance, or the head, really, performance that exceeds expectations. It's about the product, the features, the quality, the speed, and so forth, right? This is what what we do well. We can build great stuff. It works well, it works beyond expectations. But if we touch the emotions, we delight customers in a personal, emotional way, right? It's about, they actually care for me, they listen to me, and you know what? They share my values. That's interesting. That's a very cool thing. And you make stuff that people will say, wow, that's actually amazing, right? And you go out there and meet people and hear them actually say that. So the question is, are you trying to be meaningful to people, or are you just trying to get the website done well, or are you just trying to sell products? This is a question that you can ask every time that you're on the table for the very first time, that you can hang out on your wall, really, this is the question that will convince your clients along the lines of staying relevant. And by making them understand that it's not just your business that you're helping here, but also their business, you're gonna have the triggers with even the toughest people at the table that you can think along their lines of business, and not just up until a point where you deliver good performance of products, right? So I don't know if you recognize this. This is Tesco's example, the UK supermarket, and supposedly the people in Korea have one of the longest working days, working hours in the world. And they sort of turned this disadvantage into advantage by having this wall where people can scan all sorts of products, QR codes, and the stuff is being delivered even while they wait at the metro station. I think this is a great example on, where apparently agencies helped think Tesco beyond their online tools and websites. So, is there anyone who has a similar example, maybe that you came across recently that you thought, oh, well, that was very clever? Who came across something where you thought, well, here's some people that thought beyond the website. Anyone care to share an example? You must have come across something that you thought, oh, that was cool? Yeah, I was early.
Welcome to Finland. Welcome to Finland.
Yes. No problem. Well, how about IKEA, right? So you order stuff online. I personally will be hesitant to order my couch online, but they allow you to return anything 45 days, no questions asked, and you even have this certain brand that they created for it. It's wonderful, to be online and experience this in a way that went beyond just the website and their online premise. Okay, so thinking in a broader sense is one thing. I do many pre-sales and sales consultancy meetings these days, and I share the experience that I've had over the next 20 years or so, and all the things that I learned and came across, and all the pitfalls and such, and clients, they did that. But the key question that I always ask them first time off is, what is success? Have you defined success in a way that we can both measure when will you be happy, right? So when is the thing going to work? And if they don't have any substantial content when it comes to defining their online success in the project that we're engaging on, I urge them to take the exercise to do it. Obviously, I can help them with that. They can do it themselves or with some other agency, but I really need that on the wall and to say, okay, these are the goals that we'll be striving for, right? Because all the decisions that we will be making, whether it's technical or design, right, need to contribute to the goals that we're trying to achieve, not only at go live, but also here after that. So definition of success for me is critical. And of course we can build these multi-sites, with all those features and different languages and access rights and all sorts of groups. We can do that splendidly well. But how about the people that are actually going to visit the site? What kind of people are those? What are the touch points? Where are they running up against? Do you know that, right? What is it that we are trying to achieve? And how can you tell your bosses that, 20, 50, 100,000 euros that you're going to invest is actually going to pay off? We need to have that. So it will also allow you to determine if a client, how ready a client is or where they're at their stage of life, right? So this is an example of a maturity map from Altimeter. They have some very good examples of business maturity maps and such, and plotting organizations on where they're at. There are many others covering big data and all sorts of other topics. And success can be very objective, but it's no longer just delivering according to specification, right? So it shouldn't be. And having something like this helps you discern your clients in a way where you know where they're at their maturity level. So they all have something similar like this. So ad hoc, there's nothing is consistent. They have one person, but he has different jobs. And they have a website and analytics running somewhere, but I don't do anything with it. And then there's a stage of planning. So they've evolved a little, they've done it one time already. There is a team, but there's still no consistency, and people still think in silos and such, and so forth. And there's other steps, and there's covering the people, policies, procedures, and it's not so much about the further contents of the model as it is in that it helps you to understand, okay, we're dealing with a client here that is still in this ad hoc phase of his life, right? This evolutionary cycle. So it needs a different approach for them, to win the deal. Basically, you need to say different things when they've done it a couple of times already. They will be asking different questions. They won't only take a good website from you, but they need more help as well. And it also helps you to help the client properly. So it's not just winning the deal, but it's also making a very good project out of it, which a model like this helps. And I think our goal really as agencies is to tell clients, look, it's great online ambitions that you have. This is great briefing that you sent me. You probably must have seen it at some of your competitors, right? And it's a good thing, but in order to get there, we need to get you from that step 2 to step 3. And these are the things that you will be needing and doing, including the definition of success, including focusing in a broader sense and really going out there, looking outside in, defining the customer experience, creating personas and customer journeys and so forth. And if you define a set of well-defined KPIs along these lines for your project that will help you measure whether the project is successful, to which you can both commit, you will create more awareness in the hearts and minds of people that you have at your table, because they will understand that you can think along their lines and making really a return on investment, right, on the project. So here's an example of the ADA model that we sometimes use, where the A stands for attention, right? It's about relevant traffic. The I stands for interests and long-tail traffic, and for clicks further down the road in the website. Desire is getting your people measurable into some form or state where they're almost there, whereas action is actually conversion from anonymous to non-anonymous, for example, right? This is actually converting a lead. And there are other KPIs that you can define, right? So the number of defects, for example. I've had clients say, I want to reduce the number of defects per month from 42 to 12. And I need you to bring tools in place and measure that and show me. Right? There's time to market, for example, is a very strong one. You can measure that. There's actually clients these days that will, they need a week or so to actually create a new user for a new client. Can you imagine that, taking a week for a new client to be on board on a system that will make them €1 million per week? Really, I've seen that. So, publishing content is easy for us, right? Publishing a module is also, we can do also fast, but you can make it measurable. There is, most of the time, there is data already there with your client's organization, however crude or however small. There's always something that you can put a benchmark, say, okay, this is what we have. This is going to be our benchmark when we go live, and we go work on for the year after that. So if you just define a proper set of requirements that you can actually measure along these lines, hang this on your wall as well, right next to the goals, hang it up there for everyone to see, because this is what you will be working for the next new project and the year after that. And the interesting thing is, if you can commit your own agency to the success of these goals as well. So it's not just delivering this to your clients, say, okay, good luck with it, this is what you should be doing. But are you willing to commit your own agency to these goals as well? And immediately, you're intrinsically, you'll have a fear, say, okay, if I don't reach these goals, there will be some financial setback, right? No, I mean, we did this. There were no financial constraints. Why should there be? Luckily, if you can find the clients that understand that, because there should be also a bonus if you do it better. But if that's the intrinsic motivation, we're not doing the right thing. So, when I commit my own agency, also, it's interesting for me because they'll say, well, yeah, obviously, because there's so much more work to be done after that. Yes, but also I will also be sticking around for you to help in the year after go live, right? So it's your job to reach this, but you don't need to be doing it alone with your client. I'm going to help you with that. So here's an example of a customer journey. There's many templates for that, many ways to visualize this. Also, to include visuals that will actually appeal to your client, and it includes all the touch points that people walk through before doing a purchase over different channels and such. And in larger projects, I find, fortunately, we have the space to actually work this out and show our clients, look, we've stood in that line with a GoPro on our head, and this and this and this are the red flags that your clients are your customers are running up against. Right? So this is where we need to work, and by the way, there's 2 of them that you can improve online. When it's about customer journeys, Dries had a very interesting analogy in the context. This was in 2014. Publishing content for us is easy, right? Functionalities might take a little bit longer, but provided your production environment is all right, you can roll out a module fairly quickly. As I said, surprisingly, it might take days, if not weeks, for certain clients still to do these things. And in Dries' analogy, there was, about taking the photo. Obviously, this is the old days where it took this journey and all these things to make a photo. And then for a long time, it was simplified, but you still had to look and all get it developed before you could share it with your friends, right? So over time, this journey became shorter, simplified, right? Until now, we only have 2 steps from shoot to share. And I literally showed this example in 2 or 3 of my projects, also large ones that we did, and it made sense, for the content people. The content people's pains that we take away, they'll be the first ones to get delighted and say, okay, I can do this myself, right? So when it is about the webmaster's job, also in several larger companies, there's still someone who will be demanding to do certain things himself. But we went from a very long journey with all these things to a shorter one that improved the jobs of the webmaster, the enterprise architect, because okay, now we can understand these steps, these are simplified. Even the program manager and senior people they understand that this will actually relieve pain of their team members, thus saving money, right? So here's another one that I took from these about disintermediation. I told you about the example of new users, and I had this product owner for one of the business segments he was managing. He said, well, so I'm unable to do this myself then, right? I said, yes, I'm going to show you in 3 weeks after the sprint. You can do it yourself, create your own users, up and running in an hour, right? So this is another example that found its way to the proposal, to the initial presentation, that really triggered the hearts and minds of the people that are not looking at your product and features only, but in actually their own business and saving money and saving time. So, when it comes to drag and drop, a couple of weeks ago I sat down with, in a meeting, there were like 5 or 6 people, and at one point the quiet person spoke out and she said, well, so I'm having WordPress now, and you know, Drupal's been a drag when it comes to drag and drop. So will I be finally able to, you know, drag components on the page and reorder my menus and such? And I'm just showing this video review all the time and say, okay, this is how it works now, right? If I can, I have a live example. Sometimes they ask for that, but I just, you know, I show them the actual things, show them what's already there. And when you improve, you know, the lives of the people, you know, even the quietest people among the content team, obviously, you know, the content manager or the marketing manager's lives will be easier because they have less people at their desks complaining about the CMS, right? So, when it comes to success, ultimately hinges on, you know, people working together, relationship between people, and onboarding the people in your way of working. I found works remarkably well in, you know, gaining the trust and overcoming their fears when it comes to, in this case, agile, but it can work for any kind of method that you use, right? So here's a video. It's a great video. I urge you to take a look at it. We also have this downloadable templates, and this I had the luck to work with some skilled Scrum coaches that gave training to our teams, but also our client teams, and onboarded them in how we think and work, right? So many clients will say, okay, we know Agile, we've done it a couple of times, but there's always this tendency still to say, okay, we work Agile, but we still need to have it all in, right? So when it comes to, for example, the product owner's role, which is a very important one in the organization that we rely on, this is a great way to have them, to onboard them, but you will also have someone firm in their shoes to help you alongside during the project with preferably no vested interest in the project, to point out in both teams, look, this is what we should be striving for. So I show this to 2 clients. I show the image in every presentation that I have, and I sort of, you know, even one of the tough contract managers, I even chip off a little of their sort of risk mitigating fears. When I show them worry, we're going to cover the process as well. It's always a pleasure to work with people who are already doing stand-ups, who work agile, who know the concept of minimal viable product. Still, there's you know, many pitfalls that you still fall into where you will be having the discussion to squeeze it all in anyway. And I show this image to them as well, or something similar. And this hung up our wall for a year doing one of the larger projects, and it was probably one of the most used slides that we took off our wall and say, look, we're striving to get in business, you know, not for the end result. There is a side note, because I haven't had a client coming for a car that went away with a skateboard with a smile, right? That's not what this picture is about. It's about focusing on, you're going to be in business after 3 weeks. After 6 weeks, we'll focus on what's important next, right? That's what you want to point out here. So it helps me helping others overcome their fears when it comes to risk and compliance, risk mitigation, and all sorts of traditional ways of handling scope, right? I'm a great advocate for transparency. I found a great example at HubSpot. They make this great marketing tools and this sort of online services that they have. They have a very interesting culture with great values that appeal to me, where they say, well, we're radically and uncomfortably transparent, which more and more often I hear myself recite this, and whenever it has relevance, I take it out of the system and hang it on the wall. And that's what we did with several projects that included some very serious risks when we involved third-party agencies. It took about 2 or 3 months to get certain things hosted. That's what you get. You have external contracts and larger IT companies that you need to rely on. And we took out those risks and hung them on the wall, even the ones impeding the project or possibly impeding for 2 or 3 months. And it was interesting to see that upper management, CEOs coming by and saying, oh, that's interesting, because usually I get this from this sort of risk file that I get every week, right? So when it comes to risk, there's these risk meetings that management does, and they put it in a file, they see it every week before they move on to the next half-hour meeting. And we said, no, we take it out. This is where you can look at it if you want to know. But it's also for the people doing the actual work to know where the project is at and what we might run up against, right? So it has meaning, hang it on your wall, and be transparent about it. So I tell this to other clients as well. I mean, this is how we like to work. This may be uncomfortable, but it's for the best. And while it is uncomfortable, it has the right energy there and hits the right nerve with that. So we all have these demos, right? What we do, and we have these last-minute issues and bugs and things that don't work. And we cleverly masquerading those and say, well, it's going to be finished this afternoon. Or you're very open about it, maybe. Why not? So here's me doing a demo for the Port of Rotterdam project that we did. It took a year, a relatively large project. And I was halfway down the project. I was just doing the introduction and invited my own stakeholders and product owners, there were 8 of them, to show their own work for their own businesses. So I empowered my own client, basically. And there's 2 things happening there. One is that it gave a tremendous boost to his own ownership, because he was showing his own work, right, to his own peers. Obviously, we took the day in advance to prepare. The other thing happening there is that all his peers and people he made decisions for were gradually, the first demo was almost empty, but as the project evolved, more people came and said, oh, interesting things happening there. It's about stuff that you create for me. They were there as well, and it sort of created awareness and ownership within the organization and say, okay, so you're showing stuff that I'll be working with 3 weeks from now, right? So this is what I sometimes in agile proposals tell my clients, okay, I'm going to build this stuff for you, it's going to be great, it will work, we will deliver beyond your expectations, right? And we'll focus on this great customer experience for you. We'll go further than just the product features. We'll actually go out there and meet your users and clients and build a great experience for them as well, because then you'll get a wow experience, become great, get a great return on investment, but it will also empower you to take along your own organization. Right? And this is with certain people from the business, will certainly trigger their hearts in getting one step further across that line in doing business with you. So, final thing, just a little bit more about agile values. We work agile, obviously. Likely most of you will be working agile as well, but it applies just as well to other methods. But I'm a very strong believer in agile values because it embraces some of the sort of, on the low side of the dichotomy, where it allows you to expand and create and really create a story that people love, right? So when I was young, I was with the Boy Scouts. Obviously, it's based on some military values, but it has some great values, other values when it comes to respecting your environment and working as a team and respecting your teammates as well, right? So whenever there is a lack of transparency, I observe also a lack of structure and a lack of values. And I often remind teams of the Boy Scout rule. This built for our project. The Boy Scout rule basically tells you that whatever you pick up or you touch, you have to leave in that state or possibly better. Right? So when we work lengthy projects, there's the Scrum board. If there is ever a Scrum board, clients give me red flags. Say, okay, I don't know where the project is at. I can't see. So we take it out, put it on the board. But then there's the stand-ups, and people say, okay, I've done this today, right? It's very much about their own piece of the work. Say, okay, why don't you walk up to the board and move the cards? Well, I'll do that in a bit. Yes, but you're not doing it for yourself, my friend. You're also doing it for your team. You're doing it for the product owner and stakeholders and your client, right? So it takes a certain set of values that you need to express all the time for people to understand that it's not just about their piece of the puzzle, but about the greater context that you're working with. And this is just one example, there may be others, but for us it works tremendously well to take some values out of your life, hang them on your wall, take them into your project and express them every time that you need to. So I always tell my clients I need a room with a big wall because I'm going to be hanging lots of stuff on there, right? That we'll be reminding each other of. Alright, so to sum up, product development is perfectly alright. We'll still have good business from there for years to come, but consider that you may need more to stay relevant, stay relevant amongst your competitors, but also help your clients stay relevant and really win the hearts and the minds of the businesses that you'll be talking to. So the first one is expand to service design, provide great performance with customer experience to add value to people's lives, right? So you don't need to bring on people on staff per se. You can have other people, find other people around you with particular skill sets to look from the outside, and strategists, concepts, artists, designers, business consultants, whatnot. And in so doing, help the Drupal pie really and bring on other types of clients as well. With people with whom we have two companies that we often work together, because our niche for 10 people is still very much into the development, and we need to rely on other people when it's about companies who've done their website 2 or 3 times already and are into that more mature state and need more help there. Build on trust, not just contracts. Focus on the teams, not the terms. I mean, contracts are good, right? You need contracts. Not implying you need to let go of them. But we've been so much on that side of the economy for a long time. Find people who understand that it's also about creativity and expansion, about room to really love the thing that we do and help those clients that will want to understand. That's what I'm trying to say. Be sure to have a definition of success, right? So make sure you have those measurable KPIs that everyone can understand and explain. Even, the people in the development staff should be able to explain why we're doing it, right? What we will be measuring a year from now. Show, don't tell. Show examples of how you will make people's lives easier. Understand what's needed. Use what's already there. So go out, meet real people, go stand in that line, and look around you and see what's already there when it comes to Drupal, to show and connect with the people's lives that you'll make easy. Not just deliver the functionality, but say, okay, this is going to ease your life, right? I'm going to make your life easier, really. Whether it's a content manager or a marketing director or the people outside actually using your site. So live through projects as you live through life, right? Don't be afraid to express your values among yourselves, but also to your clients. Hang them out there on your walls, on the client's walls. I mean, if it has value to you, it should be out there in your project as well, right? And that's it for me today. I'll be very happy to see if it works for you. Get feedback from you on my presentation, because I'll be doing this in Dublin as well. I'm very much interested to see what connects to you, what not, what you miss, and please let me know. Don't we have time for any questions? Do we have time for any questions? Does anyone have questions at this hour? Another?
Are you planning to use this image also in Dublin? Material.
Is it on?
Do you hear me? Yes. Are you planning to use this image also in Dublin?
Yeah, why not? Is it okay?
Because the Americans, I guess.
Well, this is from visitfinland.com. Maybe not a Finnish site. Any other questions then?
I have a bit of a comment.
Yes.
On that famous diagram, I think that's from Spotify, right? But what is an MVP and what isn't, with the skateboards and the cars and the wheel and all that?
Right.
I think everybody can hear them pretty loud speed.
Except in video.
Oh, okay. I'm just wondering, does the client understand every time, does the second approach, the one that's on the lower half there, right? Where you do the skateboard first and then the bicycle and the motorcycle and then the car, instead of building the car slowly, actually will take more effort and more time and more money to actually achieve that result, because in the end you do end up building the full skateboard, because you don't turn the skateboard into a bicycle, you have to build the bicycle from scratch and then the motorcycle from scratch and then that car from scratch. Yes, it's a more definitely bulletproof process, and you end up with one hell of a solid car, right? Because the first one is riskier, but it is in fact faster and simpler. Do the clients understand that, and how do you communicate that?
Well, I don't think that's you necessarily need to build a motorcycle from scratch. I mean, if there's a solid base there that you can go like first, I mean, we don't build the entire site anew with every increment, right? So there is a basis to rely on, and you go to the next increment. And to answer your question, well, they don't understand that a lot of times, so you have to go through that process to make them understand. Fortunately, when you get certain clients that are in that second or third stage of their maturity, they have done it a couple of times. So you'll have clients saying, okay, we've done Agile, we don't believe in it, right? But you also have clients, okay, we've done it a couple of times now, we've had suboptimal results, lost a lot of money, now we're going to do it differently. And there's actually procurement processes that are sort of embracing these values. But yeah, I have to explain that to them, and there's actually projects that we did at some point where the criticals were there was 30 criticals hanging there. We said, that's not critical. So we took them all off, put them 1 or 2 levels lower to must-have or something, and said, okay, now you can select 3. And it's a painstaking process with some fights, but you have to go through it and actually do that in order to help, clients evolve and make them understand that it's really about the things that they really need, and not all about needing things. So to answer your question. Yeah?
I like how you put that, and I just wanted to say it's not really fair to use a skateboard to scooter to bike, and because of course they're different machines, but in a website, I'm dealing with somebody who declared for MVP version 1 that they needed to see when their friends from Facebook were also logged in to this community site, and I'm like, no. and the best way, and one of the best things you said today is we just need to get in business now.
Right.
What do you need to do to get into business? Well, it's a profile site that's essentially advertising services and having conversations with potential clients and between practitioners.
Right.
You don't need, the 100 things that are on your must-have in the MVP business.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, there's when I showed the onboarding thing, the training thing, in that session, the Scrum Master coach already said, okay, we're going to play this game, this value game that we do, and right from the very first day with the client, we played that game, right? So we started with that. I see too often that we start a project and we explain what an MVP is and we really start doing it in practice, and after string one, the client starts to gradually understand what it's about. So starting early on in your model process with this difficult exercise is a great thing. Any other questions? No? Sure. Well, I'll be here all day, so thank you very much for listening. Great for being here. See you soon out here in the hallway. Thanks. Good.